The alien ship moved slowly through the field of broken metal and twisted steel. Captain Zextar stood on the bridge, his blue skin glowing softly in the dim light. His 4 eyes scanned the debris floating in space. These were the remains of Earth's last battle, fought over 300 years ago. "Captain, we are detecting another ship," said Dr. Vexani from her station. She was the ship's science officer, her green tentacles moving across the control panels with practiced ease. "It appears to be a human military vessel." Zextar nodded. The Galactic Coalition had sent his research team here to study the final battle between humans and the Drex Empire. Everyone knew how it ended. Earth was destroyed. Every human died. The galaxy moved on. "Take us closer," Zextar ordered. "Scan for anything useful." The Viridian Dawn approached the broken human ship. It was smaller than their research vessel, clearly built for war. Burn marks covered its hull, and several sections had been torn open by enemy weapons. It looked dead, just like every other human ship they had found. Commander Theklos, the security chief, stepped forward. His warrior species valued strength above all else, and his red armor gleamed under the bridge lights. "Captain, my sensors show the ship is not completely dead. There are still some power readings." Dr. Vexania's tentacles moved faster across her controls. "He is right, Captain. I am detecting a very weak energy signature from the ship's lower levels. It appears to be coming from what humans called a medical bay." Zextar felt curious. In all their months of searching through the battle site, they had found nothing but empty ships and scattered remains. "Prepare a boarding party. I want to see what is still running after all these years." The boarding party consisted of Captain Zextar, Dr. Vexani, Commander Theklos, and 2 junior science officers. They wore protective suits as they moved through the airlock into the human ship. The air inside was stale and cold, but still breathable. Emergency lighting flickered along the corridors, casting strange shadows on the walls. The ship felt like a tomb. Their footsteps echoed as they made their way toward the energy signature. "The humans built these ships well," Dr. Vexani observed, running her scanner over the walls. "Most of the systems are still intact, even after 3 centuries. Commander Theklos kept his weapon ready. "Dead ships make me nervous. Too many places for enemies to hide." "The humans are extinct, Commander," Zextar reminded him. "There are no enemies here." They found the medical bay behind a sealed door. Dr. Vexani worked on the control panel until the door slid open with a grinding sound. Inside, they discovered something that made them all stop and stare. A large cylinder stood in the center of the room, surrounded by blinking lights and humming machinery. Through the clear front panel, they could see a human male floating in some kind of liquid. He appeared to be sleeping, and his body showed no signs of decay. "By the void," whispered one of the junior officers. "It's a human, a living human." Dr. Vexani moved closer to examine the device. "It is a cryogenic preservation system. The human has been in suspended animation for over 300 years. The machine has been keeping him alive all this time." Zextar studied the readings on the nearby displays. He could not read human language, but the numbers seemed to indicate that all systems were functioning normally. "How is this possible?" "The ship has been floating dead in space for centuries. The cryopod has its own power source," Dr. Vexani explained. "It was designed to operate independently in case of ship damage, but Captain, the power levels are dropping. The system will fail within days." Commander Theklos stepped closer, his hand still on his weapon. "What do we do with it?" "With him." The team gathered around the pod to examine the human inside. He looked young, perhaps in his early 30s. His body was well built, clearly that of a soldier. Even in sleep, there was something about his face that suggested strength and determination. "We should wake him up," Dr. Vexani said suddenly. "If we wait much longer, the system will fail and he will die anyway. This could be our chance to learn about humans from one of their own kind." Commander Theklos shook his head. "That could be dangerous. We don't know what kind of human this is. He could be a warrior, trained to kill aliens like us." "He has been asleep for 300 years, Zextar pointed out. "Even if he was a warrior, his entire species is gone." His world is destroyed. What could one human do against an entire galaxy? Dr. Vexani was already studying the cryopod's controls. I believe I can activate the revival sequence safely. The human medical systems are not too different from our own. Zextar thought carefully. As a scientist, he was deeply curious about this discovery. A living human would be an incredible research opportunity. But as a ship captain, he had to consider the safety of his crew. Commander Theklos, what does your warrior instinct tell you about this human? He asked. The security chief studied the sleeping figure for a long moment. He looks like a soldier. His body is strong, his scars tell of many battles. But he is just one being, and he is alone. I can handle one human if needed. Very well, Zextar decided. Dr. Vexani, begin the revival process, but we take precautions. Commander, have your security team ready? If this human proves dangerous, we must be prepared. Dr. Vexani's tentacles moved over the cryopod controls. The process will take approximately 1 hour. The system must slowly bring his body temperature back to normal and restart his biological functions. As the revival sequence began, the liquid in the pod started to drain. The human skin began to change color, from pale blue to a more natural pink. His chest started to rise and fall slowly as the machine helped his lungs remember how to breathe. His vital signs are stabilizing, Dr. Vexani reported. Brain activity is increasing. He should regain consciousness soon. The team watched in fascination as the last human began to wake up. None of them could have imagined what they were about to unleash upon the galaxy. The pod's front panel slid open with a soft hiss. The human's eyes opened slowly, blinking in the dim light. He tried to sit up, his movements weak and unsteady after centuries of sleep. Zextar stepped forward carefully. Can you understand me? Do you speak Standard Galactic? The human looked at him with confused eyes. He saw the blue skin, the 4 eyes, the strange alien features. Then he looked around at the others, Dr. Vexani with her green tentacles, Commander Theklos in his red armor, the junior officers with their various alien appearances. Where ... double quotes, the human's voice was rough from long disuse. Where am I? Who are you? You are aboard my ship, Zextar explained gently. We found you in this cryopod. You have been sleeping for a very long time. I am Captain Zextar of the Galactic Coalition research vessel Viridian Dawn. The human struggled to sit up fully. His eyes were becoming clearer and more focused. I'm Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison, Earth Defense Corps. What happened to my ship? Where is my crew? Dr. Vexani exchanged a worried look with the captain. How do you tell someone that their entire species has been extinct for 3 centuries? Lieutenant Commander Morrison, Zextar said carefully. I'm afraid I have some very difficult news to share with you. Captain Zextar took a deep breath before speaking. Lieutenant Commander Morrison, 300 years have passed since you entered that cryopod. The war between Earth and the Drex Empire is over. Jake Morrison tried to stand, but his legs were still weak. Dr. Vexani moved forward to help him, but he waved her away. 300 years? That's impossible. I was only supposed to be in there for a few weeks at most. I understand this is difficult to accept, Zextar continued. But there is more you need to know. The war did not go well for humanity. Earth was destroyed. Your species is believed to be extinct. Jake stared at the alien captain for a long moment. His face showed no emotion, but something changed in his eyes. They became harder, colder, extinct. You're telling me that everyone is dead? Every human being? We have found no living humans in 3 centuries, Dr. Vexani said softly. You are the only one we have discovered. Jake was quiet for several minutes. The aliens watched him carefully, unsure of how he would react to such devastating news. Commander Theklos kept his hand near his weapon, ready for any sudden movements. I need to see the records, Jake said finally. I need to know exactly what happened. Captain Zextar nodded. Of course. We can provide you with historical data about the final battles. But first we should get you to our medical bay. You need proper examination after being in cryosleep for so long. Jake agreed, and they helped him walk through the corridors of the alien ship. His steps were unsteady at first, but he grew stronger with each movement. By the time they reached the Viridian Dawn's medical facility, he was walking on his own. Dr. Vexani began her examination while Jake studied the alien technology around him. "Your medical equipment is quite advanced," he observed. "Different from ours, but clearly effective." "We have had 3 centuries to improve our technology," she replied, running her scanner over his body. "But Jake, your readings are very unusual. Your bone density is far higher than normal human levels. Your muscle tissue contains proteins I have never seen before." Jake lay still on the examination table. "That's because of Project Sentinel. I'm not exactly a normal human anymore." This caught everyone's attention. Project Sentinel? "Captain," Zextar asked, "what was that?" "A military enhancement program," Jake explained. "When it became clear that we were losing the war, Earth scientists started looking for ways to create better soldiers. They experimented with genetic modification, cybernetic implants, and other technologies I probably shouldn't discuss." Dr. Vexania's tentacles moved faster across her instruments. "The readings I'm getting suggest massive biological changes. Your cellular structure is unlike anything in our databases. It's as if your DNA has been completely rewritten." "More than rewritten," Jake said quietly. "They didn't just make me stronger or faster, they made me into something else. Something that could survive what was coming." Commander Theklos stepped forward. "What do you mean, survive what was coming?" Jake sat up on the examination table. Despite being awake for only a few hours, he already looked completely alert and healthy. The Sentinel project wasn't just about winning the war. It was about making sure that even if humanity lost, we wouldn't truly be gone. As Jake spoke, something strange began to happen. The medical equipment around him started to flicker. Displays showed error messages, and several instruments began to spark. Dr. Vexani looked alarmed as her scanners failed one by one. "What's happening?" she asked, checking her equipment. "All my instruments are malfunctioning." Jake looked around at the failing technology. "I'm sorry about that. It happens sometimes. My body generates electromagnetic fields that interfere with sensitive electronics." Captain Zextar felt a chill run down his spine. "You generate electromagnetic fields? How is that possible?" Part of the enhancement process," Jake replied. "They changed my nervous system, rewired my brain, modified my cellular structure at the molecular level. The electromagnetic field is just one side effect." Commander Theklos was becoming visibly nervous. His warrior instincts were telling him that something was very wrong. "Captain, perhaps we should confine this human to quarters until we understand more about these enhancements." "That won't be necessary," Jake said calmly. "I'm not a threat to your crew. Not unless you give me a reason to be." The way he said it made everyone in the room feel uncomfortable. There was no anger in his voice, no aggression, but there was something else, something that suggested vast power held carefully in check. Dr. Vexani managed to get one scanner working long enough to take a tissue sample. When she tried to cut a small piece of skin from Jake's arm, the cutting tool simply stopped working. The molecular blade that could slice through most known materials couldn't even scratch his skin. "Interesting," Jake said, looking at the failed instrument. "They did good work, better than I thought." "Your skin is impenetrable?" Dr. Vexani asked in amazement. "Not impenetrable. Just very, very difficult to damage. They wanted to make sure I could survive in hostile environments for extended periods." Jake looked around at the aliens. How did humanity lose the war? We had good technology, strong defenses. Captain Zextar accessed his historical files on a portable device. "According to Coalition records, Earth fought bravely but was ultimately outnumbered. The Drex Empire brought massive fleets against your homeworld. The final battle lasted 3 days." Jake listened as the captain described the fall of Earth. His expression remained calm, but the temperature in the medical bay began to drop noticeably. Frost started forming on the walls near where he sat. "Are you controlling the temperature?" Dr. Vexani asked, her breath now visible in the cold air. Not intentionally, Jake replied. My body reacts to strong emotions. Cold usually means I'm processing difficult information. Commander Theklos drew his weapon partially from its holster. Captain, this human is affecting our ship's environment just by sitting here. We need to consider containment protocols. Jake looked at the security chief with interest rather than alarm. Commander, that weapon won't work on me. The electromagnetic field I generate disrupts most energy weapons. And if you're thinking about physical restraints, you should know that my bones are denser than most metal alloys. Are you threatening us? Commander Theklos demanded. No, Jake said simply. I'm explaining why threats don't work on me. There's a difference. The ship's communication system suddenly crackled to life. Captain Zextar to medical bay. We are detecting massive system fluctuations throughout the ship. All electronic systems are showing signs of interference. Captain Zextar looked at Jake with growing concern. Is your presence affecting our entire ship? Probably, Jake admitted. The enhancement process made my energy field quite powerful. It tends to grow stronger when I'm stressed or emotional. Learning that my entire species is dead is rather stressful. Dr. Vexani checked her remaining functional instruments. Captain, I need to continue my examination, but most of our equipment won't work around him. However, what I have learned is extraordinary. This human has been modified beyond anything I thought possible. What kind of modifications? Captain Zextar asked. Enhanced strength, speed, and reflexes, improved healing abilities, resistance to radiation, toxins, and extreme temperatures. His neural pathways show incredible complexity, suggesting enhanced intelligence and possibly other mental abilities we haven't discovered yet. Jake stood up from the examination table. There's more, but some things are classified even now. What I can tell you is that Project Sentinel was designed to create soldiers who could operate alone for extended periods, adapt to any environment, and complete missions that normal humans couldn't survive. What was your mission? Commander. Theklos asked suspiciously. Jake was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice carried a weight that made everyone in the room feel uneasy. To ensure that humanity would never truly be extinct. To be a seed that could grow into something new if everything else was lost. The lights in the medical bay flickered ominously. In the distance, they could hear alarms beginning to sound throughout the ship. Jake Morrison, the last human, was just beginning to wake up from more than just cryo sleep. The alarms continued to sound throughout the Viridian dawn as Jake Morrison walked through the corridors. Captain Zextar had assigned him quarters on Deck 7, but getting there proved difficult as doors kept malfunctioning in his presence. Some opened without being touched, while others sealed shut and refused to respond to commands. The ship's computer is having trouble with your energy field, Dr. Vexani explained as she guided him through the maze of corridors. It's trying to adapt, but your electromagnetic signature is unlike anything in its programming. Jake nodded. Calmly. This happened on Earth too during the early tests. They had to redesign most of our technology to work around enhanced humans like me. They finally reached his assigned quarters and Jake stepped inside. The room was simple but comfortable, designed for alien physiology but functional enough for a human. As soon as he entered, the lights dimmed and the air recycling system began making strange noises. I'll try to minimize the effects, Jake said to Dr. Vexani. But I should warn you, when I sleep, the field tends to fluctuate. You might want to move any sensitive equipment away from this section of the ship. After Dr. Vexani left, Jake sat on the bed and tried to process everything he had learned. Earth was gone, humanity was extinct. He was alone in a galaxy that had moved on without his species. The weight of this knowledge should have crushed him, but the Sentinel enhancements helped him cope with extreme psychological stress. Hours passed. Jake attempted to rest, but sleep wouldn't come. His enhanced metabolism meant he needed less rest than normal humans, and his mind was too active processing his new reality. He decided to explore the ship, hoping that movement might help him think more clearly. The corridors were dimly lit during the ship's night cycle. Jake moved silently through the halls, his enhanced senses picking up details that normal humans would miss. He could hear the heartbeats of sleeping crew members, smell the different atmospheric mixtures that each alien species preferred, and feel the subtle vibrations of the ship's engines through the deck plates. As he walked, he noticed that his electromagnetic field was affecting more than just electronics. Metal walls showed tiny stress fractures where he passed. Paint began to peel in strange patterns. Even the ship's artificial gravity seemed to fluctuate slightly in his presence. Jake found his way to the observation deck, where large windows showed the debris field outside. In the distance, he could see the remains of Earth's fleet, twisted metal scattered across space like a graveyard. Somewhere out there was what remained of his homeworld. "Can't sleep either?" Jake turned to see Commander Theklos entering the observation deck. The alien security chief looked tired, and his hand rested on his weapon out of habit. "Enhanced humans don't need as much rest," Jake replied, "and I have a lot to think about." Commander Theklos approached cautiously, stopping several meters away. "My people have legends about beings like you, warriors who become something more than their original species. We call them the transformed. What do your legends say about them?" "That they bring change wherever they go. Sometimes good change, sometimes terrible change, but always change." The alien warrior studied Jake carefully. "You're planning something, aren't you?" Jake was quiet for a long moment, watching the debris field drift silently through space. "Tell me, Commander, what did the Galactic Coalition do when Earth was being destroyed?" "The Coalition was not involved in that war. It was a conflict between humanity and the Drex Empire. But you knew it was happening. You could have intervened, could have sent aid or offered sanctuary to refugees." Jake's voice remained calm. "But the temperature in the observation deck began to drop. Instead, you all watched as an entire species was wiped out." Commander Theklos felt his warrior instincts responding to the subtle threat in Jake's words. "The Coalition has policies about interfering in local conflicts. We cannot take sides in every war, even when one side is facing complete genocide. The universe is vast, human. Many species fight, many species die. We cannot save them all." Jake turned to face the alien directly. "That's an interesting philosophy. I wonder how you'll feel about it when your own species is facing extinction." The threat was subtle but unmistakable. Commander Theklos drew his weapon, though he knew it probably wouldn't work against the enhanced human. "Are you threatening the Coalition?" "I'm stating a fact," Jake replied. "The galaxy that stood by and watched humanity die is about to learn what happens when you let monsters win." "The Drex Empire didn't stop with Earth, did they?" Commander Theklos hesitated. The human was right. After destroying Earth, the Drex had continued their expansion, conquering dozens of other worlds. It had taken a massive coalition effort to finally stop them, and even then, billions had died in the process. "You think we could have prevented the Drex expansion by saving humanity?" the alien asked. "I know you could have. Humans were excellent at killing things that needed to be killed. We would have ended the Drex threat before it spread." Jake's eyes seemed to glow slightly in the dim light. "But instead you let us die. And now the galaxy has to live with the consequences." Suddenly, the ship's emergency lighting activated. Red warning lights bathed the observation deck as alarms began sounding throughout the vessel. Commander Theklos tried to contact the bridge, but his communication device wasn't working. "What's happening?" he demanded. Jake looked around at the failing systems with mild interest. "I think I'm having an emotional reaction. The Sentinel enhancements can be unpredictable when I'm upset." The deck plates beneath their feet began to vibrate. Through the walls, they could hear the sound of metal under stress. The observation windows started to develop hairline cracks. "You need to control this," Commander Theklos said urgently. "You could destroy the ship." "Could I?" Jake asked with genuine curiosity. "I've never really tested the limits of what I can do. The scientists on Earth were always very careful about that." Commander Theklos felt true fear for the first time. In years, this human wasn't just enhanced, he was becoming something beyond their understanding. "Jake, there are innocent beings on this ship. My crew has done nothing to harm you. Your crew, no, but your civilization? Your coalition? Jake's voice carried a weight that seemed to press against the alien's mind. They watch my people burn. They celebrated our extinction. They built their peace on the graves of humanity. The ship shuddered more violently. Emergency hatches began sealing automatically as the computer detected hull breaches that didn't exist. The artificial gravity fluctuated wildly, causing both beings to grab onto support rails. This isn't you, Commander Theklos said desperately. This is the enhancement talking. You're better than this. Jake considered the alien's words. Slowly, the violent shaking of the ship began to subside. The emergency alarms quieted, and the lighting returned to normal. But the damage was already done. Stress fractures ran along the walls, and several windows remained cracked. You're right, Jake said finally. I am better than this. I'm better than all of you. Before Commander Theklos could respond, Jake continued speaking. The Sentinel project wasn't just about creating enhanced soldiers. It was about evolution, about becoming something that could survive in a hostile universe. Something that wouldn't make the same mistakes humanity made. What mistakes? Trusting others to do the right thing. Believing that civilization and morality meant something to species like yours. Jake moved toward the exit, and Commander Theklos stepped aside to let him pass. Humanity tried to be noble. We tried to follow rules and treaties. We tried to be part of something larger than ourselves. Jake paused at the doorway. But nobility gets you extinct. Rules get you forgotten. And being part of something larger just makes you a target. As Jake walked away, Commander Theklos realized that something fundamental had changed. The human who had awakened from cryosleep was gone, replaced by something colder and more dangerous. The real Jake Morrison was finally awakening, and the galaxy was not prepared for what he had become. In his quarters, Jake sat down and began accessing the ship's communication systems. His electromagnetic field allowed him to interface directly with electronic devices, bypassing normal security protocols. He had work to do, and 300 years of human extinction to undo. Captain Zextar woke to emergency alarms screaming throughout his ship. He rushed to the bridge to find his crew in a state of panic. Control panels sparked and failed randomly. The ship's main computer was displaying error messages in dozens of different languages, including some that weren't in its database. Report, he ordered, trying to make sense of the chaos around him. Captain, all systems are experiencing massive failures, reported his chief engineer. It started 3 hours ago and has been getting worse. The ship's A is behaving erratically. It keeps sending distress signals, then canceling them. Dr. Vexani arrived on the bridge, her green tentacles moving frantically over a portable scanner. Captain, I've been monitoring the electromagnetic readings. The source is definitely the human. His energy field has increased in power by over 300% since yesterday. Where is he now? Captain Zextar asked. In his quarters, but Captain, I don't think he's sleeping. The readings suggest he's interfacing directly with our computer systems somehow. Commander Theklos stepped forward, his armor bearing new dents and scratches. Captain, I spoke with the human last night. He's not the same being we rescued. Something has changed in him. He's becoming dangerous. Before Captain Zextar could respond, every screen on the bridge flickered and displayed the same message. Captain, please come to my quarters. We need to talk. Jake Morrison. The bridge crew exchanged worried glances. Their computer system shouldn't have been able to display that message. It meant Jake had somehow taken partial control of their ship. Sir, should I prepare a security team? Commander Theklos asked. Captain Zextar thought carefully. No, if he wanted to harm us, he could have done it already. I'll go alone. Captain, that's not safe, Dr. Vexani protested. We don't understand what he's capable of. That's exactly why I need to talk to him. We need answers. Captain Zextar made his way through corridors that seemed to shift and change around him. Doors opened before he reached them, and lights dimmed and brightened in patterns that seemed almost like breathing. The ship itself appeared to be responding to Jake's presence. When he reached Jake's quarters, the door was already open. Inside, Jake sat calmly on his bed, but the room had transformed. Frost covered the walls in intricate patterns. Electronic devices that shouldn't have been connected were somehow displaying streams of data. The air itself seemed to shimmer with energy. "Thank you for coming, Captain," Jake said without looking up. "Please, sit down." Captain Zextar remained standing near the doorway. "What have you done to my ship?" "I've been learning about your people. Your history, your technology." Jake finally looked up, and his eyes seemed different somehow, more intense. "Did you know that your ship's computer contains detailed records of every coalition world, including their defense systems, population, centers, and strategic resources?" "That information is classified," Captain Zextar said carefully. "How did you access it?" "Your security wasn't designed to stop someone like me. Electronic locks, password protection, encryption, they're all just suggestions to an enhanced human." Jake stood up, and the captain noticed that the metal floor showed stress patterns where his feet had been. "I've been busy, Captain, very busy. What are you planning?" Jake walked to the window that showed the debris field outside. 300 years ago, my people fought and died while the galaxy watched. Now I find myself in an interesting position. I'm probably the most dangerous being in known space, and I have access to detailed information about every world that stood by and let humanity burn. Captain Zextar felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold air in the room. "You're talking about revenge." "I'm talking about justice. There's a difference." Jake touched the window, and hairline cracks began spreading across its surface. "Tell me, Captain, what would you do if you discovered that your entire species had been wiped out while others just watched?" "I would grieve. I would be angry. But I wouldn't blame innocent beings for the actions of their governments." Jake turned to face him. "Innocent?" "Your coalition knew what the Drex were doing. You had the power to stop them. You chose not to act because it wasn't convenient for you. The coalition has protocols. We cannot interfere in every conflict, but you could have interfered in that one. You had the ships, the weapons, the technology. You could have saved billions of lives." Jake's voice remained calm, but the temperature in the room dropped further. "Instead, you followed your protocols while children died." Captain Zextar realized that arguing was pointless. This human had already made up his mind about the galaxy's guilt. "What do you want from us?" "I want you to understand what you've created. When you let the strong prey on the weak, when you prioritize convenience over justice, you create monsters." Jake smiled, but there was no warmth in it. The Drex Empire was just the beginning. There are dozens of other aggressive species in this galaxy, hundreds of worlds that could face the same fate Earth did. The Coalition has learned from past mistakes. We're more proactive now. Are you? Or do you just tell yourselves that to sleep better at night? Jake walked closer, and Captain Zextar fought the urge to step back. "I've been sending signals, Captain. Very specific signals to very specific locations." "What kind of signals?" "Wake-up calls." The Sentinel project didn't end with me. There were others scattered across space in hidden cryopods. Insurance policies against human extinction. Jake's eyes seemed to glow in the dim light. For 3 centuries they've been sleeping, waiting. Now they're beginning to wake up. Captain Zextar felt his blood turn cold. "How many others?" "Enough. Each one enhanced differently, designed for specific purposes. Some are warriors like me. Others are scientists, engineers, strategists. All of them are far beyond normal human limitations." Jake returned to the window. "We were designed to rebuild humanity from nothing, to ensure our species could never truly be extinct. But humanity is extinct. You're all that's left." "No, Captain, humanity as you knew it is extinct. What we are now is something new, something better, something that won't make the same mistakes our ancestors made." The ship shuddered as if responding to Jake's words. Through the walls, they could hear the sound of metal under tremendous stress. Warning lights began flashing as systems throughout the vessel started failing. "You're going to destroy the ship," Captain Zextar said urgently. "Not destroy? Transform?" Jake placed his hand against the wall, and the metal began to change color where he touched it. "This ship has good bones, Captain. Strong design. With some modifications, it could serve as an excellent mobile base. For what? For the work that needs to be done. The galaxy that watched Earth burn is about to learn what happens when you create monsters and then ignore them for 3 centuries. Captain Zextar realized with growing horror that they weren't just dealing with an enhanced human. They were dealing with something that had been designed specifically to survive the extinction of its species and rebuild from nothing. And now that something was awake, angry, and had access to detailed information about every world in Coalition space. The other enhanced humans, he said quietly. When will they be fully awakened? Jake turned away from the window. Soon, Captain. Very soon, and when they are, this galaxy is going to discover that some extinctions are just evolutionary stages. Suddenly, every light on the ship went out. In the complete darkness, Captain Zextar could hear Jake's voice, calm and certain. The real war is about to begin. The emergency lights flickered back on after several minutes of complete darkness. Captain Zextar found himself alone in Jake's quarters. The human was gone, but the effects of his presence remained. Frost covered every surface and the metal. Walls showed deep stress fractures in patterns that looked almost like writing. Captain Zextar rushed back to the bridge, where his crew was struggling to regain control of their ship. Half the control panels were dark and the other half displayed readings that made no sense. Captain, the human is in engineering, Commander Theklos reported. My security teams can't get near him. Their weapons won't function, and the corridors keep sealing themselves. What is he doing down there? Captain Zextar demanded. Dr. Vexani looked up from her instruments with fear in her eyes. He's modifying our ship, Captain. The power core is being restructured somehow. Our engines are producing 3 times their normal output, but they should have exploded by now. Before Captain Zextar could respond, Jake's voice came through the communication system. But now it wasn't just coming from the speakers, it seemed to emanate from the ship itself, as if the vessel had become his voice. Attention Coalition Vessel Viridian Dawn, this is Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Corps. Your ship has been requisitioned for military purposes. Do not attempt to resist or interfere. Jake, stop this madness, Captain Zextar called out. We can work together. We can find a peaceful solution. Peace? Jake's laugh echoed through every corridor of the ship. Captain, peace is what led to humanity's extinction. Peace is a luxury that only the strong can afford. The main view screen activated, showing Jake standing in the engineering bay. But he looked different now. His skin seemed to glow with inner light, and the air around him shimmered with energy. Behind him, the ship's engines had been transformed into something that defied understanding. I've been in contact with my brothers and sisters across the galaxy, Jake continued. 47 enhanced humans have awakened so far. More are coming online every hour. Each one is taking control of whatever ships or stations they find nearby. What do you want? Captain Zextar asked desperately. What I want is irrelevant. What humanity needs is what matters now. Jake's image on the screen seemed to look directly at each crew member. The galaxy created a monster when it let Earth burn. Now that monster is fully awakened. Commander Theklos stepped forward. You speak of justice, but you're planning genocide. How does that make you different from the Drex? The difference, Commander, is that I'm not doing this for conquest or glory. I'm doing this for survival. Jake's expression became colder. The enhanced humans aren't here to rule the galaxy. We're here to remake it, to ensure that no species will ever again face extinction while others stand by and watch. Dr. Vexani studied her readings with growing alarm. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy signatures throughout Coalition space. Ships are going offline. Space stations are reporting system failures. It's happening everywhere at once? Jake nodded on the screen. My fellow Sentinels are very efficient. We were designed to be. Suddenly, new alarms began sounding. The ship's long-range sensors detected something approaching from deep space. Captain Zextar ordered the display to show what was coming, and his crew gasped at what they saw. A Coalition battle fleet was approaching, led by the massive dreadnought Galactic Unity. Over 50 ships were moving toward their position at maximum speed. They received our distress signals, Commander Theklos said with relief. Admiral Kexmore is coming to rescue us. Jake's image smiled without humor. Actually, Commander, I sent those signals. I wanted them to come. Why? Captain Zexstar asked, though he feared the answer. Because it's time for the galaxy to see what enhanced humans can really do. Your people need to understand exactly what they created when they let my species die. The Coalition fleet arrived, and immediately surrounded the Viridian Dawn. Admiral Kexmore's face appeared on the communication screen, his expression stern and authoritative. This is Admiral Kexmore of the Coalition Defense Force, to the being calling himself Jake Morrison. You will surrender immediately and release that research vessel. Jake's image appeared beside the Admiral's on the split screen. Admiral, I'm Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison, Earth Defense Corps. I'm not surrendering to anyone. Earth Defense Corps no longer exists. Your species is extinct. My species evolved, Admiral. We became something better. Something that doesn't repeat the mistakes of the past. Jake's voice carried a weight that seemed to press against everyone who heard it. Your fleet is impressive. 52 ships, over 30,000 crew members. All of them representing the civilization that watched Earth burn. Admiral Kexmore's expression hardened. You will stand down immediately, or we will be forced to open fire. Please do, Admiral. I'd like to see what your weapons can accomplish against a Sentinel-modified vessel. The Admiral gave the order, and the Coalition fleet opened fire. Energy. Beams and missile strikes hit the Viridian Dawn from all directions. The ship should have been vaporized instantly. Instead, something impossible happened. The attack simply stopped working. Energy weapons fizzled out before reaching their target. Missiles changed course and flew harmlessly into space. The ship remained completely undamaged. How? Admiral Kexmore demanded. Enhanced humans generate powerful electromagnetic fields, Jake explained calmly. When we modify a ship's systems, we can extend that field to protect the entire vessel. Your weapons are useless against us. Dr. Vexani stared at her instruments in disbelief. Captain, the ship's hull is actually getting stronger. The attacks are somehow making us more resistant to damage. Jake nodded approvingly. Adaptive defensive systems. Another gift from the Sentinel Project. The more you attack us, the stronger we become. Admiral Kexmore tried a different approach. What do you want? What are your demands? I don't make demands, Admiral. I make announcements. Jake's image grew larger on the screen. The enhanced humans are claiming 47 worlds as our new territory. These worlds will become the foundation of new humanity. You can't just claim inhabited worlds, the Admiral protested. Actually, we can, and we are. Jake's expression became deadly serious. The inhabitants of those worlds have 72 hours to evacuate. After that, anyone who remains will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. You're talking about displacing billions of beings. Your coalition displaced humanity permanently, Admiral. Consider this a learning experience. Captain, Zexstar found his voice. Jake, this isn't justice. This is exactly what the Drex did to Earth. No, Captain. The Drex destroyed worlds for conquest. We're taking worlds for survival. There's a crucial difference. Jake paused, and when he continued, his voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. New humanity will not make the same mistakes as old humanity. We will not trust others to do the right thing. We will not follow rules that lead to extinction. And we will never again allow the strong to prey on the weak while others watch. The communication screens went dark, leaving the Coalition fleet floating helplessly around a ship they couldn't damage. Throughout the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out as enhanced humans awakened and began the systematic transformation of known space. Jake Morrison stood alone in the engineering bay of the Viridian Dawn, surrounded by technology that had evolved beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Through the ship's sensors, he could feel his fellow Sentinels across space, each one working toward the same goal. The galaxy that had watched Earth burn was about to discover that some species don't stay extinct. They evolve, they adapt, they remember. And sometimes they come back stronger than anyone thought possible. The age of new humanity had begun.